There are always people who foster love, who work with kindness and compassion, who seek to be of service. We all have something in us that resonates as peace, as love. We have something that brings us joy, which re-energizes us. We do what we do right where we are, and we trust that there are others who are working in all those other areas that we can't get to. So if we are metaphorically holding our breath all the time, we're going to cut off the very energy supply that we need in order to be creative and be kind in the world and bring love to what needs to be healed. Because the truth is, love is what heals.
Hello, my name is Janelle Rapp. Welcome to the Blueberry Suites at Studio 770 in Brea, California. My sister Gina Boss disappeared on October 17th, 2000. In the 25 years since she vanished, her disappearance taught me that I did not have to miss out on my own life because I miss her. Though America Lost and Found has its inspirational roots in stories of missing persons, the grief their families face, their lessons, and their triumphs, this show is not just about missing. If we are breathing, we face loss, but it doesn't have to define us. We feature guests who have learned to use loss instead of having loss use them. Our guests share tools that help them navigate their loss. Some will resonate with you, some may not. Our hope is that as you watch, like, and subscribe, you will not only gain tools for life, but you will be inspired to turn your loss into beautiful. Today's guest is a senior minister at the Claremont Center for Spiritual Living in Southern California. Her community focused on practical spiritual tools to improve everyday life for themselves and others. We have the power within us to create a better world, starting right where we are. Is that your quote?
Yes.
She deserves the quote on that. Please welcome Reverend Tracy Earlywine.
Happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. The reason I wanted you as a guest is because I'm a mess. So this is just for me. No, pardon us. Anyway, this has been a very unbalanced time period for me. It started really almost a year ago. Mm-hmm. And I keep trying to get back on track. Between things in my personal life and, the world at large. And now the world at large feels like it has me by the throat.
Yes.
All the things going on in our country.
Yes.
And how our country is affecting others.
Yes.
And I don't know if other people are feeling it to this extreme, but I have a feeling some are. Mm-hmm. And so I wanted to talk to you and, just try to get ideas of how we can get through this time period and remain sane.
Yes.
Because sometimes I've never really had trouble sleeping in my life because I'm worried about something. Mm-hmm. And it's not an every night thing, but I do have that now.
Yes.
Where I'll hear something and it'll be like, how can we be doing that? Or how is that possible? Or what is going on? And it just feels like we have no foundation. There's no footing, that's for sure. And, sometimes in life, they say we have to break things down to build them back up. So I don't know if that's what's going on.
Probably.
And there's some acceptance that we need to do, but also, I don't know. I'm asking you a lot for 20 minutes. So never mind, we're done.
Okay, I'll see what I can do. Well, I think you're right, though. I think the world is very troubled, and it's very noisy, and it's much closer to us in this country than it has been for a long time. And the truth is we're all responding to what feels to us as traumatic. And regardless of your political opinion, regardless of your spiritual background, regardless of where you come from, right now there's a lot of noise, there's a lot of chaos, there's a lot of uncertainty in ways that we have not experienced before as a culture. And I think that part of what makes it so difficult is that we know that people we know are being hurt. Whether it's family estrangement, whether it's they feel threatened in their jobs, whether it's a personal despair because we care. I mean, truly, it's because we care. We're all navigating that. And I think what I know for me, what came to me was I can feel the inside of me calling out, please remind me that there's love in the world too. Please remind me that there's something I can do and show me what that is. I need to be able to find a peace in order to be able to navigate the noise. And I think that's what we're all called to do. You know, we all do that at some point in our life for some reason, but it's definitely a cultural phenomenon now, which means it feels amplified, which means it feels overwhelming.
That is for sure.
Yeah.
That is for sure.
Yeah. So I have a couple things that have been helping me, and partly what helps me is to share with other people what helps me. And I think the first piece of practical steps that I latched onto is from a website called findingsteadyground.com. And they did this list of 7 things to do for yourself. And the very first one is, I will make a conscious decision about when and where I get my news and what I will do after. And to me, the key element of that is balance. We forget that the noisiest voice in the room is not the only voice. We forget that the news that comes to us is different. It comes from a different perspective depending on who's speaking, whether that's a family member, social media, the TV, the radio, what station we listen to, what commentator, what podcast we follow. All of those represent perspectives on the same events. And so I need to listen. I want to listen. I want to be engaged in my world. I want to feel like I have an active place in it. And I also know that I can't do that from a place of fear and overwhelm and, oh my God, now what? You know, that you can't live there. We all get there, but we can't live there. So this whole extra step of what I'm going to do after, it's like choose what I listen to, which means I choose how much I listen to it and when and how frequently and what I'm going to do after. And that what I'm going to do after is something that fills me up, something that reminds me of life, something that brings me back to joy. And I have a personal example that happened. I was scrolling Facebook, don't we, most of us? And it was, you know, news article after news article and people's comments. And you know better than to read the comments because people feel anonymous and they just kind of go off the deep end. And I realized that, first of all, I was trying to do this before I went to sleep. Don't do that. I was getting very tense and constricted, and I came up to a video of my 2-year-old niece standing in a park with her mom and her Gigi, her grandmother, and they were dancing to reggae. And this 2-year-old is on the grass, and she's just going to town, and they're just rocking out. And I felt my entire body change. I felt my entire constricted, restricted, fearful, tiny, tight places in me fall away. And the lesson from that for me is that both are true. That there is struggle and difficulty and trauma in the world, and there is also joy and dancing in the park and a baby laughing, and all of those things are also true, and they both find their home in me. And it's up to me to choose what I'm looking at and how often and when and what I do with it. So we have some choices. We have to know ourselves in order to make those choices.
Mm-hmm. So I hear you saying choice. Mm-hmm. And choice to me gives us power, some power back, because I think that we feel powerless to do anything. And I love that you use that. And then just to look at something that, make a deal with yourself, basically, that after you find out what's going on today, that you have a go-to place where you can kind of refresh yourself and remind yourself that there are other things going on.
Right.
And that there are other aspects of life.
Right. And, no matter your spiritual background, or even if you have a lack of spiritual background, we all have something in us that resonates as peace, as love, where we relax, we feel like we're in the flow. Maybe we get really creative. Maybe we simply feel ourselves let go. It could be a walk in the woods. It could be the beach air. It could be a lunch with a friend. It could be a conversation. Or being creative, painting or singing or cooking or whatever. We have something that brings us joy, which re-energizes us. And every spiritual teacher through the centuries has stepped back from the world so that they can then re-enter from a place of love, re-enter from a place of power. The whole put your own oxygen mask on first, right? Because if you're not breathing, you can't help anybody. And so when we hold our breath because things are so hard, if you think about it right now, you're probably breathing a little more shallowly. And if you stop and take a deep breath, you can feel it physically. So if we are metaphorically holding our breath all the time, we're going to cut off the very energy supply that we need in order to be creative and find solutions and be kind in the world and bring love to what needs to be healed. Because the truth is, love is what heals. And there are an infinite number of choices on how we can express love in the world as ourselves. We're not all Mother Teresa, and that's fine. I really believe and I really teach that right where we are, there is something we can do that soothes the world because it soothes ourselves.
So we start here with our own oxygen mask.
Absolutely. Which means you have to know yourself. You have to know what brings you to a quieter place within. Is it nature? Is it reading? Is it inspirational words? Is it being creative? What is it in your life where you actively feel a sense of flow, a sense of peace, a sense of hope, a sense of you're in your right place? Because the truth is, we're all in our right place. We just think we should be doing more. We should be doing something else. We should be more active. We should be more vocal. Well, I don't know about you, but I remember as a teenager being told what I should do was the surest way to get me not to do it. And that still lives in me too, So I think the call for us is to know what enlivens us and balance the world with what feeds us. Because then we're able to be of service. If I'm around people that love and support me, I'm much more likely to go out into my day feeling pretty loving, at least to start with, right? I have something to give because I've already got it. I share what I have. So it's a continual process. It's a continual process of consciously choosing.
I like that. That makes it more simple. For me, I get all complex. And I collect my tools of how to get better. And I collect so many that sometimes I forget, oh, yeah, I'm supposed to be grateful. Oh, yeah, look over there at that child playing in the water.
Yes.
Oh, look, I get so distracted with all the...
Yes.
I have, Santa's bag of tools. And I've had this feeling forever that I just need one tool, just practice that one, get really good at that one. But I don't know if it's because I'm an artist or what, but I'll just venture off. I don't know, maybe ADHD or something, I just get distracted. Oh, shiny object.
Yeah, they call me the owl because we took a hike one time and we got about 3 feet from the car and I was like, ooh, look at that. Ooh. We never made it to the waterfall. So I get that. I totally get that. And to be distracted by shiny objects, which are positive and life-affirming, is a way to energize yourself.
That's
That
true.
curiosity is part of what moves us through life in a healthy way. To be curious means you're not being judgmental, right? And we all know how it feels to be judged. Therefore, being curious is a positive way to do that. And I do think that gratitude is probably the most powerful tool there is, because the thing that gratitude does is it keeps us in the present moment. Our brains are wired to protect us from danger. And the lizard brain in the back of the base of your spine, at the base of your skull says, oh, the rattling in the bushes is unknown and therefore a threat to life. So we are hardwired to focus intensely on what feels dangerous, what makes us afraid, on what triggers our panic button. In order to focus on the positive in life, or what we do have, what we are eternally grateful for the people and the things and the surroundings that we're in, it's a choice. We have to consciously decide that our response is to see and appreciate what is good. Because again, the good and the bad exist together. And looking at and appreciating the good does not say there isn't anything hard or difficult or traumatic or wrong or cruel or whatever out there. What it says is there's a worthiness in just being alive, in being able to appreciate what is here, that makes me strong. When someone tells me they love me, I feel stronger. You know, when someone has a chance to be of service to someone and see their face light up, that fills us up as much as it does them. When you create something beautiful and people respond, we're also energizing ourselves. And so we have to choose to plug in once in a while to that. And the easiest way to do that every day is gratitude. One of the ways I found to help build a habit is to ask yourself in the morning when you first wake up, I wonder how my gratitude will show up today. Or I wonder how my abundance will show up today. Or I wonder how kindness will show up in my life today. And what happens with our brains is when we have a question posed, we work on it whether we're thinking about it or not, right? You've done that. You've worked on a crossword puzzle. You get like 6 words and there's 20 more to go. You'll put it down on the table. You go about your day. You come back that night. You sit down and you fill the whole thing in.
That's true.
Because unbeknownst to you, you've been working it. So if I let my brain work on what do I have to be grateful for, what kind of abundance, what kind of prosperity shows up for me, where is kindness in the world today, I'm going to see it. I'm going to see it because I'm looking for it. And I'm looking for it because I set it in motion on purpose with gratitude. And then it's easy at the end of the day to go, oh, well, so-and-so bought me lunch and I found $10 in the street and, and the nice man helped me move my car. And I mean, there'll be a ton of things. And what I know is that what we look at is what we see more of. I mean, you have friends.
So true.
You have friends that pick fights. You have friends that can't see anything positive in the world. I know, right? You probably have relatives. They get what they're looking for, and so can we. And we can choose what it is we want to see. It will not blind us to the hardships of the world, but it will give us what we need to within ourselves to make a difference that we want to make. Because I don't want to be part of the problem.
Right.
I don't want to be part of the fight.
No.
I want to be part of the
Exactly.
solution. I want to be part of the resolution. I want to be seen as someone who helps people feel better when they've been around me. And we all have that.
I feel better.
See, thank you. I feel better when I'm around you too.
Oh,
See?
nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Well, something that you said about looking for, making a choice, asking yourself a question in the morning, it helps to set a template for your whole day, and then you were talking about, the different sides, and like a lot of what you said brings me to this point. And that is, in my everyday life, my neighbors, my students, the people I meet on a regular basis, doesn't matter which side of the fence they're on right now, there's kindness. in my world, there is kindness.
Right.
For the most part.
Yeah.
There's very rarely some big fight between the sides.
Right.
But I turn on the news. I turn on talks from government officials, and it's completely different. And so in my quest, because my parents instilled this in me, if you see a mess, you got to clean it up, even if it's not yours. Now, I feel like the mess that we have in our world right now is mine. Not that I have to fix it all.
That's good, 'cause
I'm not
probably
saying
not,
that.
yeah.
That's impossible. But if you see a mess, clean it up if you can do something. The problem I have is I don't know what I can do. And so even though I've done the math and I'm like, well, in your everyday life, everyone's pretty nice. There's peace between people. But then this other thing is going on that's kind of destroying us all. And I feel like I'm doing the splits and then my body's getting cut in half because I try to listen to all sides and in between and, you know, front and side in other countries. I try to listen to everything because I want the truth. So I know what to do because if I'm not as close to the truth as possible and I do something and I cause more of a problem, you know, so I've got all this guilt and, you know, like wondering and confusion.
Right.
And, so I've come to the conclusion at this point that the only thing to do is on the grassroots level of just spreading kindness and, you know, where I am. Now, I'm not saying there aren't other things I can do, but the thing that is blinking at me because of my everyday life is be kind. Be loving, be joyful, show that to the children you teach, you know, model that because all this mess happened on our watch, Tracy.
I know.
We watched, it was gradual.
Yeah.
It was gradual. It's been years in the making, but we were alive and we saw it. And I feel like we cannot just go, okay, kids, we're going to hand this off to you. You've got to do it. Now, I know it's more complex than this little talk we're having. But I'm just giving you like the rabbit hole that I go down. And so I'm thinking if more of us could focus on being kind and loving, and even in social media, and do our research. Not that everyone's going to go down the crazy rabbit holes I go down. But to do research to find out what someone else is feeling and thinking and why they came to that opinion. That might be helpful in understanding your neighbor. And
and it's the basic idea that we all look at the same thing from different perspectives. I mean, if you have siblings, you might ask yourself sometimes if you grew up in the same family. Because your memories of how you grew up are so different from each other. You know, and there's a great quote from Ilya, what's his last name that I can't pronounce? Let me find it. Prigogine. Ilya Prigogine, he's a Nobel Prize winning chemist. So this is science, right? This isn't even spirituality, although we teach the same thing. When a complex system is far from equilibrium, small islands of coherence in a sea of chaos have the capacity to shift the entire system to a higher order. Okay, so we have these small...
I need that quote.
I'll give that to you. We have these small islands of coherence within ourselves. We know we spin around in our own heads, even about our own lives, about what I should do, and shouldn't it look like this, and why wouldn't it be that, and how come I'm not more or less, or... We do this inside all the time. And then we talk to someone, or we read something, or we go listen to a talk, and what we hear calms us down and says, oh, I'm fine. Fine. It's busy. It feels a little crazy, but truly within, I've got a place of peace. That allows us then to deal with each and every issue that we carry in our heads, as long as we're choosing to do so. It's no different out in the world. So this pocket of kindness that you live in, you know, these kindergarten teachers that are teaching their little kids how to be kind and compassionate to each other, and, you know, and the coaches on the sports teams that are teaching good sportsmanship, and everybody shakes hands at the end of the game, and it's more than winning and losing. Anytime we have that in the world, we're building those islands of cohesion, and it does, in fact, change things. Because if you look at the bigger arc of history, we have been here before.
Yes.
We have been in conflict with each other. We have had culture wars before. We have come through many, many things that are difficult or were damaging or were just flat out wrong. We have come through them because there are always people who foster love, who work with kindness and compassion, who seek to be of service, who know that in a storm there are no different religions or, political beliefs if you're all throwing sandbags on the library door to save the books inside or whatever. We know more. But in order to have that high perspective, we have to know that the power of life is within us, that the power of choice is within us, that the peace that we seek is within us already. We just need a way to let it out in a bigger way. We just need a way to stand up in our world so that we show up the way we want the world to be, as opposed to being part of the problem. And that's an inside process. But the deeper you go within, the higher your perspective is. And then we have more tools. Then we have more ideas. I don't know about you, but I am not super creative if I am hungry and tired and cranky. I can't come up with anything. I just want you all to go away. And there's a lot of us right now that feel like everybody else should just go away. I'm tired. We're all tired.
Yeah.
We're all tired. And so what helps you when you're tired? Somebody brings you soup. Somebody sits with you. You watch bad TV for a while and laugh a little bit. And, it's a process of appreciating the community that you have around you that is there for you. Because when you know people are there for you, then you can be there for others. And that allows us to reach out to someone who needs more help, or to stand up for someone who's the victim of injustice, or to speak up. I really believe that where a lot of us get stuck is thinking we have to do a lot. And I think when you get in that place of not knowing what to do because there's so much to do, there is a way of remembering that we do what we do right where we are, and we trust that there are others who are working in all those other areas that we can't get to. Like, there's a million issues, right? There's a million issues. Where's my issues?
There really are.
We need to choose one or two. We need to choose one or two to what calls to our heart. Like, I am not a phone call person. I am not the one to get on the phone and get out the vote, for example. I'm not going to be the one that's going to get you to sign up. That's not me. I can write postcards. I can edit copy. I can play with kids. I'm not the best cook. You don't want me organizing the banquet, but I can do admin organization. You think there isn't a social activist organization out there that wouldn't benefit from somebody reading their copy before they put it on their website?
Very good point.
So we all have our skills. Again, know yourself. What do you have? What do you do? What do you like? What gets you fired up? Teaching art to kids, teaching kids music. That matters. I know it matters because singing a song changes my physiology as well as my mentality. So we have to choose our area of expertise, so to speak, or our passion, and let the world show us how it can be of service. Because it will be, it is. It always is. We just have to look.
So, what you're saying directly to me,
okay,
as this human sitting here, is that yes, there are all these things that are getting your attention, but you need to look inside and see what you have available to give and to offer.
Yes.
Don't have to worry about every little thing, but just what can you do in your world.
Right, to know who you are.
And to know who I am.
Yeah, because when I know who I am, I show up as my best self. And when I know who I am, I know when I'm depleted or overwhelmed or taking on too much or getting confused or swirling around and being totally unproductive, which means I can then choose to pause, to step back, to get into something that fills me, surround myself with people or circumstances or surroundings that feed me. Because ultimately, my purpose in life is to support life in its best possible form. And as a teacher, as a minister, I mean, this is who I am in the world anyway. But I need to know it when I'm on the freeway. I need to know that when I'm faced with people who are arguing about politics. I need to know that when I have a family event to go to that I really don't want to go to because, that guy will be there and, somebody's boyfriend. But if I know it, I can get grounded before I walk in the door. I can remind myself that my life is more than this one thing. My life is more than politics. My life is more than family dynamics. That's not the whole story. Nothing I look at is the whole story. And if there is a bigger picture, then there's room for a lot of really good things in there. And if I ask myself what they might be, I will find them. And that changes every day, changes my everyday life.
That's beautiful. That's really beautiful. I feel like we need to do this again. I know that you have events that you need to get to. So I want to kind of close it. But the thing that struck me at the end is look for signs of life. Focus on signs of life.
Yes, and support them.
And support those.
Yes.
Because that's those, it's like planting seeds in a child.
Yes.
Water it.
Yes, nurture
Get it out to the sun.
Right.
So those between the children and the signs of life, that feels like a good place to end.
Wonderful.
But thank you so much, Reverend Tracy Earlywine.
It's truly my pleasure.
And I really want to have you back for part 2.
Okay.
Because this fed me a lot. And the thing is, you didn't even know what we were going to talk about, but you prepared as if you did. So that's kind of amazing. That one, can you read that again?
Sure.
Oh my goodness, that made me tear up.
When a complex system is far from equilibrium, small islands of coherence in a sea of chaos have the capacity to shift the entire system to a higher order. So we are those islands of coherence, and that's where love lives.
Thank you so much, Tracy.
Truly my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Of course. That's it for America Lost and Found. Thank you.